Do I have a drinking problem or just a bad habit? I want you to put your answer in the chat or in the comments below. Has anyone here ever felt like you were kind of stuck in the middle, where maybe drinking wasn't, comparatively speaking, as bad as so and so, but you also knew it wasn't working for you? Well, if you have ever said, I'm not an alcoholic, but something feels off, then this discussion today, this workshop is for you. Because today we're talking about what most women live in, but no one's really talking about, which is the gray area of drinking. Okay, so many of you have heard about gray area drinking. When I heard the term gray area drinking back in 2017, it was mind blowing to me because I really had always looked at drinking like all or nothing, good or bad, right or wrong, black and white. You either got a big problem or you don't have a problem at all. You either have a big problem or you don't have a problem at all. Pick one. And I couldn't pick one because I was right smack dab in the middle. And what I noticed is when I tried to categorize myself and I tried to label myself, I couldn't do it. And that's why I'm a big fan and proponent of not needing a label to be able to change your relationship with alcohol. If you hear me say anything today, it is to encourage you that it's never too early and it's never too late to change your relationship with alcohol. You can do it at any time and for any reason. And I don't know about you, but I find that super empowering and encouraging. And because in the gray area, there's typically not a big rock bottom. Now, it can feel like a rock bottom to you, like a personal rock bottom. Hello, I think we've all had moments where we were like, I don't know if that would qualify as a rock bottom out there, but it sure did in here. And that's how I would describe gray area drinking, is the struggle is a lot more internal than it appears to be externally. Again, kind of just look at your own drinking. This is just an opportunity to get curious and just kind of take snapshot inventory of where your drinking is. Or maybe you're already on this alcohol-free journey, but you remember being like, okay, well, do I have to get worse before I can get better? Is that how this works? Because if so, that's no way to live. I mean, who wants to be on a trajectory going in the wrong direction? You know it's not serving you, and thinking, well, I've got to like literally hit a rock bottom or crash literally or figuratively into a wall before you can change. And I'm here to say the good news is that's not true. You don't have to be spinning out of control in your outer life, but you may feel out of control in your inner life, in your inner world, in your mental and your emotional well-being and state. Because we all have the external. And again, my drinking story, hey, I looked pretty good on the outside. I was actually holding it all together. In fact, I drank like most of my friends did socially. Nobody was really talking about the drinking that went on before we got together, or the drinking after we left each other, or the drinking that we did alone, or the drinking that we did when we thought no one was really paying attention. Like me, I was doing the bottle breakdown in my own kitchen very often during the weeknights, just cooking and, stirring my ragu, pouring my red wine, because, when in Rome, I was like, well, that's what they're doing on TV. That's what I'm doing in my kitchen too. And, but here's the deal, especially in this gray area. Did I have a drinking problem or a bad habit? Well, I say in my book, Look Alive Sis, I actually had a thinking problem way more than I did an actual drinking problem. In fact, drinking for me was like a solution, not a problem. I was like, I'm going to use drinking to solve my problems of boredom, of loneliness, of negative emotions, or to even try to enhance something that I thought was going great. I was like, well, let's make it better. Douse some alcohol on it. Well, all that did was actually dull the spark. That actually did not enhance things. It took presence away. But you can tell that you're kind of in this back and forth mental tug of war of this gray area drinking if you're thinking about it a lot. You see, I was thinking about drinking even when I wasn't drinking, even when I wasn't doing it. I was thinking about doing it later, not doing it, how I was going to get it, how I was going to recover from it, all the things. And so, if you're in the gray area, you may be thinking about it a lot. You may be negotiating with yourself a lot around drinking. I don't know about you, but I, with my own drinking, had a lot of rules. Anybody out there have rules around your drinking or have tried that approach? Which is, I'm only going to drink on the weekends. I'm only going to drink with others. I'm only going to drink when I'm happy, not sad. I could find a reason, number one, to make the rules bend towards drinking. And then if I really needed to drink, I could negotiate with the rule and be like, well, it's a holiday. Or I'm on vacation. Okay, vacay all day. I mean, let's go. I also experienced a lot of regret. I definitely had moments where I thought, you know what, I've never regretted not drinking the next day, but I've absolutely regretted drinking more times than I can count. But here's the point that I want to make, and that is you don't need a label to recognize that you have something that you want to change. Curiosity is going to get you a lot further than trying to put something in a category and label it, because that's when we get into the comparison trap. And I think we all know it well, because I know for me as a gray area drinker, that was one of my negotiating tools, was comparison. I knew if I could look around and find someone who was drinking more than I was, or seemed to have more external consequences than I did, then I was good. And I actually found comparison to be a trap that kept me stuck, because it kept the eyes off of me, nothing to see here. That's kind of one of my mottos. And really, it was easier for me to look at other people's drinking, or even wait for my husband, my spouse, to maybe if he would stop drinking, or if he would drink less, or if he's not going to order something tonight, then I won't. And all of these tricks and all of these games that we play with ourselves actually keep us in that same loop. And I think really more the question to ask yourself is taking, is alcohol taking more than it's giving? And I really had to pop the hood in my own life and go, wait a minute, is alcohol actually giving me anything? No, not a big fat zero. Alcohol was actually not giving me anything. When I think of giving, I think of something that doesn't take from me or make me regret it later or deplete me. I think of something that nurtures me, nourishes me, gives back to me, something that after the fact, I'm glad I did it, not after the fact, I'm regretting that I did it. And so I think that's why this feels confusing. I think that's why for a gray area drinker, this can be a very confusing time. For me, I felt that way inside, but I didn't have an external experience that kind of forced my hand, if you will. So it was actually very confusing for me. And there were times I thought, well, at least I'm not so and so or that, which was awful on my part. I mean, that's really kind of judgmental, when really I was using that as a way to not have to look at myself. But I think internally I felt a lot of the tension, a lot of the mental energy. Can anyone out there relate with the mental energy it takes to really stay in flux in this gray area drinking zone, where it's not serving you, but you can physically put it down, but mentally and emotionally you're like super tied in? That is so mentally draining, because it's constant management. It is literally like constant management. And what it really does is creates a disconnection from ourselves. Because when we're using our presence to manage the past or the future, we're living in regret, or we're trying to eject out of our own lives, the disconnection from ourselves can be so strong that actually becomes painful. It actually becomes painful when you're like, I have left the building. I am not in my own body anymore. I'm not even in my own life anymore. And that causes now it's become a little bit more known term. When I first heard it in 2017, it felt very scientific. I was like, cognitive dissonance. What in the world is that? And really, all that means to me is the mental tug of war, the push pull, the I want it, but I don't. I want to drink more, but I want to drink less. I love drinking and I hate it too. It's that both and that's where I found myself. But here's a good thing to know. When your actions don't match your values, that's when it creates friction. And when we're walking around with that kind of friction inside, that kind of mental tug of war, that push pull, we're literally scattering our energy all around us, and we lack the focus that we need to really be present in our own lives. And to have kind of that alignment and that synergy of focus brings your presence back to where you are in the current moment instead of managing all of these externals. That's huge. And the last point I want to make is you can change without a crisis. Again, so many of us wait. We wait until a tragedy. We wait until we just can't take it anymore. And what I love seeing out there in the sober curious movement is more and more women are literally getting off the drinking highway and coming into this alcohol-free lifestyle or sober-mindedness because they want better. You want more. It's not because it was so bad, it's because you want it to be so much better. You can choose based on alignment. I love the word alignment, mind, body, and spirit. As a Christian and as a woman of faith, I'm going vertical and I'm going horizontal in my relationships. I want to connect vertically. That means me with my creator and also me with myself. And so that means how I connect to myself and within myself is extremely important. And so that's more about alignment. That's not waiting for a crisis. That's not waiting for a DUI or a loss or something that's really triggering. How about if you were able to change your relationship with alcohol because you wanted better, because you wanted more alignment, because you wanted to become the best version of yourself that I believe is already there. You're not trying to become somebody different. You're trying to become more of who you already are, who I believe God made you to be. And in the 21-day reset, we talk a lot about this. In the 21 days, really the goal is to look at alcohol differently. It is literally the beginning, the starting spot where we start to get off of autopilot. We can't really live in alignment if we're not really present with reality and just getting out of autopilot. Y'all, there's so many things that we do, you do, we all do, mindlessly. I mean, sometimes, have you ever been driving and you're sober minded, but you're driving and you got home and you're like, how did I even get here? I mean, you've driven the route so many times, you really don't remember putting on your blinker and turning left at the same light over and over again. You just do it on autopilot. And our bodies naturally want us to do a lot of things on autopilot. Could you imagine if you were having to use mental energy for everything you did? Our body wants to automate itself. It wants to figure out the path of least resistance, create a neural pathway that creates less decision. That is natural. That is brain activity. In fact, if you're someone that's drinking habitually, you're drinking just out of habit, it's because you've automated that reward system. You're not broken, just your pattern might be. And the good news is that can be fixed. So if you're drinking, we started off this workshop saying, do I have a drinking problem or just a bad habit? Well, I would again say you probably have more of a thinking problem than a drinking problem if we want to talk about problems here. But I would ultimately say that habit is just a well-trained repetition response to a certain time of day, stress, social, all the reasons why in our society 5 o'clock is known as wine o'clock. It's like plug it in. That's just what we do. And so what we're trying to do on this sober-minded journey is question the narrative, be critical thinkers, go, wait, it's 5 o'clock. Do I really need alcohol right now? Or am I just hungry? Am I angry? Am I anxious? Am I lonely? Am I tired? What is going on versus just mindlessly sipping? Just like I challenge all of us to, we don't have to mindlessly scroll. We don't have to mindlessly sip. We don't have to mindlessly do a lot of things that we end up doing. And so this sober-minded journey is so exciting to me 9 years later, because I'm not just focusing on alcohol and what I'm not doing. I'm focusing on what it is I am doing, what I want to align with, what I want to put in my body. If you're looking for a way to plug into a sisterhood where we're talking about the science, we're talking about the mindset, we're talking about the repetition, but you want to just change what your repetition is. Again, you're not broken. Maybe just your pattern needs an update. Just like you update the software of your phone, sometimes our mind needs an update. It's like software, it needs an update, but your brain still needs time to catch up. That's like getting a new phone. That's like new hardware. And all that takes, ladies, is time and repetition. And so that's what we're trying to do in the reset, the good, the bad, the ugly, the hard, the easy, all of it. So I want to know in the comments below this video, what is it that makes you question your drinking? What are some of your kind of red flag moments? Okay, bye everybody.